Hi, I'm going to do this extra review with you. So this first one is an absolute value function. You can definitely type that into your calculator to help you with the graph. So if you want, take a second, type it in your calculator, and that'll help you with the graphs. Okay. So I'm going to graph some points.
Her husband actually dropped her off last week. You guys weren't in yet, but actually, when you guys weren't here.
All right, and remember that you want to have at least 5 points for something that's nonlinear, and this is nonlinear. I'm not going to put the table of values because you can read it from your own calculator. Okay, and you can label it with just f of x if you want. So state the translation, and that would be what happened with the vertex. So the vertex would 6 to the left and 4 down. And you can see that right here. State the vertex. It's -6, -4. And if you want, you could state the vertex first and use the vertex to name the translation, like if that helps you. You don't have to do the question in this order, okay? So now the domain would be all real numbers because it has double arrows. All right, all real numbers. And then the range, you see this is a minimum point. Anything at the bottom of something, that's called a minimum. So the range would be y is greater than or equal to -4. You could also write that like this, -4 to infinity. Okay, and then it says find f of 2. So f of 2 is the point where x is 2. And that point is right there, it's equal to 4. You could also have plugged a 2 back here into this equation. All right, question 2. When is a relation a function? A relation is a function when each input has only one output. Each input has only one output. So like 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 7, that's all good. Okay, but if I reversed it to 7, 8, 7, 3, 4, 5, that's no good because the 7 has a 3 and also a 5, and that can't happen. Not allowed. Okay, so graph this. So in order to do that, you have to divide by 2 because you want to get the y alone. So y is less than 3x minus 4. So then I'm just going to graph that as if it was a line. So you kind of like pretend that it's a line for a moment. Get yourself some points. Okay. Now, because it's less than, I'm going to make a dotted line. It would be a solid line if it had the equal bar underneath. Okay. And because it's less than, I'm going to shade below. Okay, or underneath, below, underneath, whatever you want to call it. And then, it's always good to label things that you do. Okay, name a point that's not, here we go, -2, 2. So something that's not means not in the shade, not colored. Okay, here we go. Oh, Maddie. So Maddie is walking from home to lacrosse practice. He walks at a steady but slow pace and stays talking on the phone, and it takes him 5 minutes to walk 3 blocks. So 5, 3. 5 minutes, 3 blocks. And steady but slow means that this is, straight or linear. He sees his friend Charles and he decides to wait for Charles, and he waits for 6 minutes. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And let me just double check that that goes to 11, and it does, because 5 plus 6 is 11. Okay. Together they walk the rest of the way to practice. They walk 6 blocks in 8 minutes. So remember, it's 6 more blocks, all right, in 8 minutes. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's the rest of his journey. So in the beginning, this is Maddie walking alone. Here's Maddie waiting. And then here's Maddie walking with his friend. Here we go. Here's the last piece. All right, so I'm going to do this first part in purple since I already have purple out. And it says right here that x is less than or equal to -2. So I'm going to use -4, -3, and -2. And it says to use this function. So I'm going to use this to help me find my y values. Okay, so I substitute in a -4. That gives me a 10. I substitute, that gives me 9.5. I'm probably not going to graph that. And then this gives me 9. Okay, so I'm going to go to -2 comma 9. And that's going to be a closed circle. And then 4 comma a half. And that's just going to be a point. I'm going to extend through it and create an arrow. Okay, so I'm going to do this in green. So here we go. X, y, I got -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And all the answers are 4, so that's kind of easy. All the answers are 4. So -2, 4, open circle, up to 3, open circle, 2, 2, 2. All right, so I'm going to go blue. So x is greater than 3, so 3, 4, and 5. And now this is interesting because 3 is not included anywhere. And then here's the function. It's -2, 0, 2. -2, another open circle. And extend through and create an arrow. And that's it. That's the piecewise function, and it's called f of x. So there's no answer at 3 because they're both open circles. But the answer at -2, you would scooch up to this 9. There's open circle, it means it's not included. It's not an answer. That, my friends, is your extra review sheet. Okay? So keep things in mind. You should be able to evaluate, like if somebody says, what is the value of x? What is the value when x is 5? You would go to this bottom piece because 5 fits. 5 is greater than 3, so I plug in a 5, I get a 2. So you have to be able to read this. You have to be able to graph it. And then you can always answer questions from the graph. All right, something to keep in mind here. Make sure you follow the direction. Like it says that he continued to practice, so that would continue in this direction. On the review sheet, they went back home. That's what the story said. So back home would have been a negative slope. Okay, here I had to divide by 2. If that 2 had been negative, you would have had to flip the inequality symbol. They could ask you for a point in. They could ask you for a point that's not in. In would be in the colored area, and not in would be in the not colored area. Okay. You could also do substitution. Like if I plug in a 2, what would make it true? Okay. Things like that. Your pretty guys are pretty good at functions, so I'm not really worried about this. But remember, it has to pass the vertical line test, and each input can have only one output. And then here, make sure you memorize this, right? You got this y equals a, the absolute value of x minus h plus k. You got to know this, okay? So the a will tell you if it opens up, if a is positive, opens down, if a is negative. The h and the k will give you the vertex. H comma k is the vertex. And use your graphing calculator to help you. Because if you type that in your graphing calculator, then it's going to show you that it went 6 to the left. You don't have to imagine these things. Use your calculator and actually look at it. All right? Have a great night. Please study. Stay safe.